brand manager for Becky. We have these events every 6 weeks. Some of you might have been here for the last one with Bobby Brown. Tonight we have soon. We have Charlie and Leah from there. So thank you very much for coming. They're here tonight to answer all your questions that you might have on hair, whether you should have it up or down, tiaras or hair things, hair bands. For the wedding, so please feel free to ask questions, and they will try and give out the wear tips and advice tonight. And then obviously if you want to book an appointment with them afterwards, then at the end of the evening they'll be available to speak to. I guess that's it. Thanks very much.
Well, I'll start with saying congratulations to all of you who are married. We've started prepping our timber previously, just because as you all know, when you do get married you tend to have a few trials before the actual day of the wedding, so you get to try a few different things out, you know, kind of see what feels right, what doesn't feel right. Some of you might want to wear your hair differently for the actual wedding, and then wear it in another style for the evening party. So normally we've seen our clients prior to the day of the wedding, and kind of more familiar with the hair and how they want it. Today we've just started prepping this about an hour ago. We've decided to show two different looks. So Charlie here is doing something that's half up and half down, and I'm going to put all of the hair up here, and then we're going to try a few different tiaras and maybe work the front slightly different. So if you've got any questions, if you want to come up and have a look, you will see the final result, then feel free, and then if time allows, if any of you want to come up and try something out once we finish these.
So there's like so many different things you can do. Obviously if you want something maybe not so classically bridal, you know, just soft and pretty, you know, obviously having it completely up and having it half up and half down are two different looks. Again, depending on the theme of your wedding as well, whether you want to really go with it and do something quite extravagant, or if you just want something basically just looking really pretty, healthy, shiny hair. So there's just so many different things to do. So if you do have any questions, choose where to start.
What do you recommend if you've got a tiara and a veil?
A tiara and a veil. Yeah. Quite a lot of people do have a tiara and a veil. I've done that actually recently. The specific bride I did was sort of down with part of it pinned back, so the tiara was more sort of focusing around here, and then the veil had a big clip sort of up there. You can work around it, but probably I would suggest, because you've got quite a lot going on, keeping a little bit of hair down will just sort of soften it rather than it all being up with, you know, you just want it, you don't want it to look too much basically, I think, unless that's the look you're going for. You have to kind of, you know, keep it simple somewhere. So maybe by having it more down, but, you know, really pretty, shiny, slightly curled or waved, with the tiara being the focus point. You know, because if you have got a really nice piece of, you know, some beautiful pieces, tiaras here, you maybe don't want to sort of like overpower, you know, have something too much with the hair, sort of take that away from the jewellery piece and the hair. So you might want to keep it a bit more simple, depending on how sort of fancy your hair piece is.
If you take your veil off then after the wedding, do you think to keep the tiara on all night? Do you think you need a different hairstyle, or taking your veil off after the wedding for your party that you know your hair to look set up?
I'd say if it's secured in properly, to be honest, you should be, you know, the veil is put in so that it's, you know, in the right position, that it can just be taken out. And there's always ways to work around it, because I think the last thing you want to be doing is faffing around with your hair just when you've taken the veil off. So keeping it in a, you know, in the right position and putting it in properly will just mean that you should be able to just take it out and then go and party.
So most of you are getting married in England? You're getting married abroad? child, so you have a proper idea of what you want before. I think what's really important as well is to kind of think about what your dress is like, and how it works best with the hair. If you've got a dress with maybe like a really beautiful detail through the back, you might not want to have your hair hanging, covering it. And I think if you think that when you're actually in the church or the wedding, most of the people coming to see the wedding, they're just going to see your back. So I always think that, they might watch your back for about half an hour. I think it's really important that the back just fits in and that it works with the dress.
Yeah, I definitely do think the dress really will, once you know the dress, then you can really sort of go from there. As well with sort of like, I think a lot of people find if you're wearing a boob tube, it's quite nice to have it off your neck, just to really sort of show off your neckline. I think that's quite pretty. Depending on where the detail is on your dress, you don't really want to cover that.
How does most of you feel when you're planning your wedding? Do you want to, has any of you had short hair but you've been growing it because of the wedding, or do you feel that you want to you want to be at the wedding as you are normally? You're trying to grow your hair long? Because we get a lot of clients like that. They have short hair for years and years, and then they come in one day and they're, I just got engaged, so I'm getting married in a year and a half, so I'm just going to grow it. And then come back from the honeymoon and they come in and they have it all chopped up again.
I think another thing as well that we sort of try to encourage is, there's lots of things you can do with putting hair up and, styling it, but you don't have to have long hair to have pretty hair as a bride. You can have just like, if you have your hair really beautifully blow dried with the right product and you've got a nice little sharp bob or something like that, that can really work with what you're doing. You don't necessarily, this is, I think, really nice and shiny as well, just if it's really got gloss, beautiful colour. There are things, if you generally don't really like your hair long, and then I don't feel that you have to have it long for it to look pretty. There's always things you can do, like someone did with a little hat piece, do you remember very 20s?
Yeah.
Someone came in and had a very sort of little 20s bob and had it sort of finger waved to the side with a sort of hat piece, and it looked absolutely gorgeous, but it was quite, it was very, very simple, but it really, really worked. It's got to be you, really, hasn't it?
If your hair doesn't grow very fast, so you're having trouble with it and it's quite fine, so it's fine. If you wanted to have you can have the extensions put in, how easy is that to do, or is it quite difficult?
I personally, if you want the extension just so you can have the hair updo, I will probably buy the extension separately and have them put in with the hair, as long as you've got enough hair to get the rest up, but all you need is kind of in between kind of jaw length and shoulder length to make that work, and then have hair pieces put in it rather than actually having the extensions done. So when you have the extensions done and they're glued to the scalp, you can't really comb the hair and brush the hair to get it sitting really smooth, and you might end up seeing little glued bits sticking out, which is not a very nice look. So I'll probably speak to the hairdresser and go either with the hairdresser, if you go yourself, and buy the hair pieces for it to match your colour.
I think I always sort of think, obviously the more natural your hair is, the shinier, the more reliable and the more pretty it's usually going to look. So I guess that is why most people do grow their hair. So yeah, if you are going to have extensions, just make sure they're just secure.